Alright, good morning everyone and welcome to my video. This week the video is about spans and we are going to create a front quarter panel. Many of the videos that you can see at the moment would be available on my website. The link is in the description and you just need to follow where the arrow is pointing. Okay, just a few words about today's workflow. First we are going to kick off with the curve. From this curve we are going to derive a surface, which is pretty straightforward. Then we are going to add a span in the middle, the span that many people don't like, but I suggest that spans are a good alternative. Then we are going to detach the patch and we're going to end up with two patches. One of them we are going to trim, and then we are going to patch out the remaining hole. This method of building surfaces will give us a nice transition. Okay, so without any further ado, let's just start building. Let's copy the curve from the side surface. We can extend it with the merge off. And what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to estimate how long I'm trying to estimate the patch. So basically I am drawing a curve perpendicular to the edge and I'm changing the settings to curve. I have my perpendicularity in here on the fender edge. Now I can trim the remaining curve. I'm trying to build some geometry just before I move on to the patch itself. Okay, so creating a 5-degree curve, and again I'm trying to play with the curvature comb. It's not exactly right, but with some of the adjustments that we can make, we can just make it just a little bit better by sliding the CVs of the adjacent patches. Now what we can do, we can take this patch we are working on at the moment and we can in a side view we can project it onto the side surface. Okay, so let's project and let's not delete the history. Okay, by doing so we can preserve the G2 continuity on this patch, and we can at the same time use the history to our advantage and just make sure that the comb curvature plot is nice, at the same time keep the curvature. These are just the minor adjustments. Of course you can do the same on the other side, so you can untrim the patch on the other side and see if you can get lucky with adjusting. Sliding, of course, sliding in this situation is the safest method of manipulation. Yeah, so our curvature comb is getting there. It's improving basically. Okay, so now we have 4 edges boundary and we can try to create a surface. Let's use just an ordinary tool, a square tool. Now when I'm trying to create a square, the software gives me 5 degrees by 6 degrees. I can obviously change it to 5 by 5. Now the software gives me 6 degrees because the wheel arch surface, it's degrees 6, so it will automatically give me 6 as well, which is not necessary to achieve a position alignment at the bottom there. So we can have only 5 degrees, which is enough. We could try to impose tangency. Through my experience, I've learned that imposing anything at these stages of design, it's not a good idea. I always like to use the align tool. I will leave the patch with G0 all around, and I will do any kind of necessary adjustments and alignments by hand using the align tool. Alright, so as you can see, that patch connecting our wheel arch and side surface, the orientation of that patch is reversed, so we can use the reverse surface UV option to basically reverse. So UCVs become VCVs and VCVs become UCVs. Now when I have all the patches oriented in the right direction, I can use the curvature U plot and visually examine the curvature. We need some adjustments, we need to slide some CVs, but this is just straightforward work. There's no magic to it, so just make sure that you have the comb curvature as nice as possible. You see this pinch? Try to remove it. You take the same actions on the other side. Again, there's a pinch in here. At the same time, you're not only looking at the comb curvature, you also want to examine the CVs itself, okay? So all these control vertices, it would be great if you can make them flow nicely. Don't have any kind of weirdness, any kind of jumps or dips. Yeah, like this CV, you see, it's going down. Just make it down a little bit. Try to do your best to make the comb look nice and the CVs look right. We are trying to achieve the nice flow. And this is just another example of falling in love with the curvature plot. If we talk about high quality surfaces, this tool is just for every day. You use it every day, and without it you wouldn't be able to examine the curvature. You might be lucky to get a nice highlight, but you will get some dips in the in the surfaces. This is like a blessing. You can always examine your own work. Don't be afraid to do it. I mean, there's always opportunity for you to improve your surfaces, and some people may be thinking like, oh, I'm good enough, I don't need to do any of that extra step curvature plot examination. Because I know people having this kind of attitude, and if this is your attitude, just change it, because your life will become so much easier if you do things right, 100% right, and it will save you a lot of time in the later stages. Very high quality surfaces they will not bring you any troubles in terms of aligning or achieving good curvature, achieving good highlights. Whereas if you working on surfaces which are, let's say, 95% right, there is a very high possibility that something will come up and basically bite you. Okay, so we can move to the next step and use our curves that we have created beforehand and project them onto the surface and basically trim the bits that we don't need. Just for your reference, you can see where our surface is and where the curves are. Now, this curve is pretty important. We can extend this curve again with the merge off, just to have an anchor point on the left side, you see. Now we're going to project it. What we can do next is take this curve and basically align it to the curve on surface. Now, by examining the comb curvature, you can see there is a pinch. So what we can do, we can take this whole curve, and just a touch, just slightly change the plot, so we have a slightly better transition, you know. There you go. So we have G3 there. Now on the other side we also have a good connection. There you go. We are pretty nice. We are pretty I mean, I'm pretty happy with the result. Now obviously we were working on the only on the curve, so we need to take the whole slab surface of this side body, and we need to align. We need to align it to the curve that we have just modified. But first, we just let's just try measure the distance, the deviation distance we have. So we have something like 0.26 of a millimeter. Let's just get this CV and snap to the curve, and now we have zero deviation. At the same time, all of the upper surfaces, you know, we need to take them and align to the new position of the side surface. Obviously, I'm just working on this bit, so I'm not worrying about you know, all of the adjacent surrounding surfaces. I'm going to hide them, and in the meantime, just prepare my surrounding surfaces that I need. You know, to make them work nicely with everything around. So what I'm trying to say, I guess, is you know, I'm removing all the gaps, I'm removing all the little glitches that I don't need, that might later bite me. Alright, so we are just getting ready to move on to the next step of the modeling. Basically now we have all the environment ready for our last patch, but before we do that, I'm just visually tumble around, you know, and visually check everything that I think might need changing. I'm just removing the curves on surfaces, and I'm realizing that here I need to do some work. So basically, you see our square surface is a little bit above the trimmed edge of the quarter panel. Okay, so we have the trimmed edge here, and we have some kind of misalignment. So what I'm going to do is untrim and move all the corners, all of the end of the edges to the right spot. There is no difficulty to this operation. Is basically reprojecting, retrimming everything that needs to be retrimmed. Now we can have 100% correct position of the trimmed edge. Now this surface needs to be pulled up a little bit, I mean the edge of this surface. I'm gonna copy the curve of this edge and project it onto the surface, trim, delete the curve, and now I have a gap which I have to reduce by just aligning the bottom patch. So I'm just aligning the surface to minimize the gap, and I am reprojecting all the edges, all the necessary edges. Now I'm trying to get this this patch extended, but I can see it doesn't work. So I copied the bottom curve, rotate it a little bit, and I'm just trying to borrow the geometry I already have without creating one from scratch, because if you create something from scratch, like if you want to create a new curve out of nothing, it will be completely different to what you already have. So if you can, borrow the geometry. As you can see, the comb curvature is not very good, so we are going to make it right. Just a quick visual inspection. You can see that the other two CVs are dipping in, so basically grab them and move them along just to, you know, make sure they are not inside. And this one goes in. There you go. Cool. I think we are getting there. We are very close. Now, in the meantime, I have detached our white surface in the middle. This one single surface now is detached, and we have two separate patches, which we are going to be aligning to the top geometry. But before that, we need to get this top curve ready and make sure that it's close to the trimmed edge as much as possible. Now I can see there's some problem here with the history. I probably moved the squared patch, our white patch, without history, with deleted history, and I have all the causes, curves on surfaces moved. So basically I need to reproject them and make sure that you know, it's neat, because it's very easy to deviate by very small margin. Alright, so cleaning out the display. Now we're going to align this patch, and just notice that we don't have much of the gap. It's 0.00229. Now if you go to the position influence and you just type the smallest value you can think of, then you will be getting the G2 continuity. Now here we have a gap which we have to address and basically eliminate very quickly by aligning. There's another gap here in the middle. Obviously we're going to do the same, align with the position influence 1. Okay, so we have the last thing to do. I know I said that a couple of times, but you know, I was actually busy preparing all these surrounding surfaces quite a bit, so now I think now we are ready to create this surface. Okay, so we are creating the surface and it doesn't look bad, the CVs are fine. Now the character line, quick acute angle character line view, and it is looking good actually. Change the color, change the specularity, not too much because it's just too bright, so yeah, it's getting there I think. Let's hide everything else, clear out our view. Now let's begin aligning. Let's align the right side and the left side. And you can see there is some work we need to do. Again, sliding in this case is the only option if you don't want to lose your continuity. You see those CVs, we need to change them, so we need to manually adjust. We have position. Oops, I've just noticed something weird. We have position failure here. I thought I have already aligned these surfaces and removed the failure, but I mean removed the gap, but apparently I have done something that brought this gap back, or maybe I have kept the history on. Nevertheless, let's just delete the cause and do the alignment again. So again, we have G0 here, which is fine. Okay, I think this patch somehow came back to its original location. Let's get the curve again, and let's use the stretch tool curve and snap to this corner. Now we can manually grab the CV and snap to the curve. As you can see, I'm just snapping those CVs off the surface to the CVs of the curve. Delete the curve, and we can just align. Let's align G0 first. See the flow of the CVs. We have G2. Now we can now align G2, and we are ready to go. Obviously we have some gaps now in here, so let's just quickly do the same thing, untrimming, deleting the curves on surfaces, because those curves on surfaces are not what we want anymore. Alright, so G2, G2, failure, G2, G2, failure. Okay, I think we can sort this out pretty easily. Some vector options helped us achieve the continuity, but on this side it's not so easy. Let's just see what we can do. I think the good idea would be to detach this patch in the middle. Now we have a huge position failure here. Basically our square surface, the white square surface we built first place, has moved. You know, we had curve on surface and we deleted history, and then we were probably aligning that patch and the whole CV had moved. So in the side view, let's align G0 again, and you can just visually examine the CVs of these patches. The highlight looks fine, looks alright. Let's see the CVs. I think it's fine. We just can grab one extra row of CVs and push it in a little bit by changing the blending options on both patches. And yeah, we are fine at the bottom. So we have G0. We have G0 at the bottom, G2, G2, G2 everywhere. Now we are only left with the top area. So position is fine, it's just a matter of pulling those CVs out. G1 is fine. Now G2 is going to be a bit painful, but if we grab all the CVs at the same time, like these CVs, and pull them out, we can do some magic. Okay, I think I need to add one more row of CVs on this patch. I'm just trying different things first before I do that. So I'm aligning. Yeah, if I align the top edge, the left edge is losing its continuity. So I think adding some more CVs would be a good idea. Because I had history active, I lost some position and I have a lot of red, but I will just fix one by one. Okay, now this continuity is not a big deal, it's just a matter of pulling one of these CVs. Now here I'm going to add one more hole in this direction and pull out on the other one as well, and this pull in, and we are fine. We are okay with the highlight, we are okay with the continuities. We were using the spans to achieve that, basically one span in that main major patch. If you were to create this patch manually without spans, you would have to create 2 patches and basically spend much more time to with tweaking and adjusting. So I hope it makes sense, I hope it was helpful. Thank you for watching and see you next week. Bye bye.